Good morning and welcome to our 40th Coffee with the Commissioner event. We had a little bit of a technical challenge again this morning. We couldn't connect to our live feed through Zoom. We had a problem with my Wi-Fi connection here in the office, so we're just doing a little workaround, and we're using my cell phone to film the Zoom screen. So we're also recording this, so we'll have a clean copy later today posted on the website. So just appreciate everyone's patience as we get this thing rolling. But right now, without further ado, I want to introduce the people that are here this morning that got up early and that are here. We've got Janice Geely, our County Administrator. Welcome, Janice. We've got Michael Rhodes. He's the Director of Parks and Rec for Escambia County. And we've got Mr. Ray Palmer in the corner over here. Ray is the President of Pensacola Sports Association. So we'll start out, and just to get things rolling, we'll start out with you, Janice. Would you like to give an update? There's a lot going on. We've got fires. We've got the Committee of the Whole tomorrow. There's COVID. Why don't you go ahead and kick us off and give us an update of what's happening in the area?
Yeah, so you know that we did record another death yesterday. The death did happen previously, but we are up to 19 deaths. But we are looking at our hospitalizations and the data that you look at in terms of the number of folks that are reporting to the hospital is still continuing to decline, folks that have symptoms, so that's a good sign. We do still have our jail is still, from what we can tell from an inmate perspective, COVID-free at this point. But we are still seeing that the long-term care facilities are still having issues. I think that may be something that stays with us for a while from a COVID perspective. As far as the governor moving to phase 2, we still don't know when that's going to happen. He has been reluctant to give a date, but he did give some parameters that they are continuing to monitor. One of the parameters that they have put out there is the issue related to antibody testing. And so I think that's going to be one of those things that's going to take a little bit longer for us to get to move to phase 3. And then the other thing I would say is that as far as the fires, as you know, there was an arrest yesterday in Walton County of the gentleman that was burning inappropriately that unfortunately caused a lot of damage in Walton County.
Right.
They did implement a burn ban in Walton County, and then Okaloosa County has done that as well. I've pulled a map of the state of Florida where there are burn bans and where there aren't yet. We've been talking with Emergency Management Director Eric Gilmore, Public Safety Director JD John Dosh, and Chief Williams since Monday. And one of the things that we've been looking at is the drought index, which typically our ordinance says you need to be at around a 700 for the fire chief to make a burn ban. We are currently sitting around 364 as our index. That doesn't mean that we would not consider a burn ban. What that means is that we aren't at the really drastic level of 700. But as you all know, part of the issue that we have is we don't have any rain in the forecast for at least 10 days. We've been having a north wind versus the south wind, which comes off the Gulf and does provide some level of humidity. And so without that humidity, I think we're going to continue to monitor that situation and potentially look at a burn ban ourselves. The other issue related to the burn ban is the enforcement of a burn ban. We have one fire department, whereas some of the other communities like Walton has, individual fire districts, and they're able to monitor it from their individual fire districts. And
Right.
So we'll be looking at enforcement and what that would look like. And I did want to mention that there are some basic guidelines. So this is a very good graphic, I think, that Florida Forest Service has put out, and it demonstrates really clearly what the rules are in terms of what you should do anyway concerning a burn. 25 feet from the woods, 25 feet from your house, 150 feet from another occupied house, 50 feet from a roadway. Unfortunately, the fires that we're aware of, the Hearst Hammock fire might not have been an accident. The fire over in Santa Rosa was probably not properly managed. High winds came up, and then we know about the gentleman in Walton County. clearly did not manage his fire properly. And then we had one the other day off Johnson Avenue where the gentleman, lost his business, and he definitely was not burning properly within 25 feet of his business or another business. So burn bans are something to consider, but we still all have to be very vigilant and make sure that we manage fires ourselves within the regulations. Yesterday, I understand that the Weather Service did not issue a red flag warning, but that doesn't mean people should be out burning.
Right.
So anyway, I do think that I have a call in with the chief and Mr. Gilmore this morning, to continue to talk to them. And I do know that Santa Rosa County is going to be looking at it tomorrow at their county commission meeting.
Well, Janice, and just for the viewers here, Janice, I sent an email to Janice and Allison because, frankly, it's such an unusual situation here. It's a big problem out west. They have it every year. They have a season wildfire, but out here we get so much rain, 70 to 80 inches per year. We typically don't have these sorts of situations arise. So I wasn't sure what the mechanism was to get a burn ban in place. I didn't know if that was something that Administrator Gilly could do unilaterally, or if a special meeting would be necessary of the board. My only thing is, and believe me, I'm a small government guy. I don't want the government telling me what to do. We're all tired of that right now with COVID. And we know there's a lot of business owners that feel like the thumb of government has kept them down and hurt their businesses. No one wants to do that. No one wants to say you can't have a barbecue, you can't use your gas, your fire, the little fireplace, the little gas fireplaces outside. No one wants to say that, but I mean, it's so dry for the next 7 days, no precipitation, low humidity, no rain, and wind, heavy wind, that, it's just a very dangerous circumstance. If you read in today's Pensacola News Journal, for instance, they have a very good article about just the dangerous conditions that we're in, and the fact that Holmes County, Walton County, Jackson County, Okaloosa County, I believe Bay County as well, have all issued burn bans. I don't think it would be a bad idea for a 7-day burn ban. And I see you shaking your head, Janice. Hopefully that's something we can talk about tomorrow at the committee of the whole. It's not on the agenda. I don't want to be the guy saying, the government's going to tell you what to do and what not to do. But I think for the next 7 days, after seeing 1,200 acres get destroyed in Beulah, in my district, and we still, like you said, we don't know what caused that fire. We know it's human caused. We don't know if it was arson. We don't know if it was an accident. I think just being prudent, being safe for the next 7 days makes sense. But again, I know that you're coordinating with Eric and the Forest Service and the Weather Service. So, we'll see what happens with that. But I would like to discuss that at tomorrow's committee of the whole. So we'll see if the chairman will entertain that as an add-on, just a discussion of that. What else what about the COVID? What do we got going on with COVID this week? It looks like we're up to 659 cases. We've done about 10,981 tests in Escambia County. That's how many we have results back for. Anything to add to that, Janice? How's our long-term care facilities looking with this?
Yeah, I think that we're still going to be having issues related to long-term care facilities. One of the things that Dr. Lanza, I asked him the other day about, the testing, and folks, that there does appear to be a trend in terms of, if you are in the same household or the same facility, that there is a better chance of you contracting it from that perspective. Long-term exposure to someone who has tested positive.
Right.
So I think that that's going to be with us for a while. And that's why, as you know, we are continuing to monitor the jail and make sure that, places like that, so far we've been very fortunate with the jail. We have had, a couple of issues where folks have needed to be tested when they came in from the streets, or maybe an officer had a roommate or somebody that may have tested positive and needed to be tested. But so far we do appear to be doing pretty well there.
Fantastic. Well, we're getting some questions now on the live stream here. We've got one from Andrew, wants to know when we're going to open up the 39 acres on Perdido Bay and with the boat ramp. Michael, I don't know if that's in your bailiwick. We've got Michael here on the upper left-hand corner, Michael Rhodes. He's our Parks and Rec director. Or is that more of something that would be handled by Natural Resources and Environmental?
That'll be a tag team approach with us in Natural Resources. I'd really expect a ribbon cutting on that property sometime in June, if not.
Here?
Yeah, yes. If you're talking, well, let me rephrase it. I'm referring to the Innerarity Point property next.
Oh, no. We're talking about Perdido Bay. We're talking about Perdido Bay.
That will be something that Marine Resources and Natural Resources. I really don't have a lot of information on that particular property. I apologize. I got ahead of myself referring to the property next to Galvez boat ramp is what I was referring to. That should be opening sometime in June with the ribbon cutting.
Right.
I would have to get some notes and see about the property and work with Robert Turpin and the folks with Natural Resources on that other property.
Well, I know that we got 2.5 million, right, Janice, from Restore Act to put into that project, but I believe it's like a $4 million project altogether. But that's 39 acres on Perdido Bay, District 1, just north of Highway 98. I've been out and walked that property. It's beautiful, and when we get it developed, it's going to be a very nice facility for boaters and sportsmen. Again, we got the 2.5 million from Restore Act, which is not taxpayer dollars per se. It's fine money from BP from the oil spill. So that'll be moving forward. I got another question from Sean Bullington. It's kind of an open question about how we're going to improve the lives of firefighters. I can tell you, Sean, one thing that we're going to do to improve the firefighters' lives out in Beulah, for instance, is we're going to build them a modern station. We've set aside $2.5 million, and you're going to see on the agenda on the 21st, we're going to select a firm, an A&E firm, to go out there. We had a specific criteria that we put out on the street. It's called a request for letters of interest. And we gave them criteria, what we're looking for. I've got that all on my blog if you want to check it out. And that station's going to have, it's going to have a modern kitchen facility, meeting facilities, bunk rooms, showers, a proper kitchen. Right now, those guys, and they work very hard. My hat's off to Station 2 in Beulah. They worked very hard on that Hearst Hammock fire. I mean, I talked to one of the volunteer firefighters. Tremendous respect for those guys. He was out there 3 days straight working that fire, assisting the Forest Service. So all the firefighters, ECFR, the Florida Forest Service, Station 2 in Beulah, and all the volunteer firefighters out there, my hat's off to you. Thank you for the hard work and dedicated effort. We sent resources. I know, Janice, didn't we send resources over to Santa Rosa County initially for the 5 Mile Swamp? I mean, these guys have worked very hard. So what are we doing to improve their lives? Well, we're bargaining right now. We're working with them on their labor agreement. We're going to improve the Beulah station. We're also going to improve the Pleasant Grove station. We're buying equipment with local option sales tax money. And I know over the last 8 years, we've given a 3% raise every single year, 24% over that time period. And, we're doing the best we can for those guys. We all appreciate what they do. Janice, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, well, let me go back to the previous question about the boat ramp off of Heron Bayou off of Lillian. That's the property you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah. So that particular piece of property, has wetlands issues. And so our team has been working with, the Army Corps of Engineers and FDEP on getting those permits. Mm-hmm. And it does take a while to get those permits. And it's my understanding that we are very close to finishing that permitting process. And they are hoping to start construction by the end of the year. So that's not a completion date, but it's when they're hoping to start construction. But the majority of the work that's been done has been related to the permitting process. So I wanted to make sure that I closed that loop.
Fantastic. Without further ado, we've got special guests here this morning, and I want to go ahead and take this opportunity to reintroduce everyone. For folks that are we got some new people joining the stream right now. We've got Mr. Michael Rhodes up in the left-hand corner. He is the director of Escambia County Parks and Rec. And then in the lower left-hand corner, we've got Mr. Ray Palmer. He is the president of Pensacola Sports Association. So Ray, why don't you introduce yourself, tell the folks about your organization, what you do, and what sorts of things you guys do in Pensacola. And welcome.
Welcome and thank you, Commissioner. Please apologize. I have my work at home furry friends who.
I love it.
They as soon as they find out we're on it, it's like, oh, Dad, I need to be on Zoom. So I apologize if that's a distraction.
No, we love it.
Pensacola Sports, thank you for the invite. We do multiple things. We basically run two businesses within Pensacola Sports. We have a local component that was started about 65 years ago by a group of businessmen from the Chamber of Commerce who felt like at that time Pensacola Open long-running golf tournament needed full-time assistance and management and attention. And so they started a sports association. So we're basically the second oldest type organization in the country that does that. And then back in the mid 90s, an industry called sports tourism appeared. And people started to really travel to do sports. Even though they were doing it, it actually was a creation of an industry, and now it's a huge industry, major component in the travel industry, travel and leisure world. As we all know, Janice in the bow shooting, and Michael currently, and anybody that's ever had a child that played volleyball or softball or soccer or now baseball and all of those sports. The sports travel industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so that's the second part of our partnership, or our business, is we are the sports tourism agency, if you will, for Escambia County. So we represent all of Escambia County in an effort to help work with Michael hand in glove on multiple items, work on some of the youth organizations that y'all have partnerships with, some things we do on our own, and to bring people to Escambia County for positive economic, that very valuable tourism dollar that helps offset monies that we don't have to spend. And I think that COVID-19 is going to, I don't think, we all know, the country knows tourism has had a horrible whack, and businesses that are used to being full of tourists and roads and some complaining about go away are going to unfortunately see the economic impact of those people not being here, because they do offset so much. When I'm a tourist and I come in and pay taxes in your community and I leave, well, they help fund school boards and school systems, and yet they don't put a burden on those school systems. So yeah, there's some give and take in the road. So, but we're sports. We do event management, and we have great partners, and you guys are absolutely one of them. And so I'm excited to hear some of the movement that y'all have done with the Parks and Recs. I will tell you, you are the envy of many people in the state with the initiative you've taken. And I've had quite a few calls from my friends in the state saying, what are you doing and how are you doing it? That's awesome.
You're talking about our Parks and Rec department?
Absolutely.
And Michael does a good job.
The opening back up of starting to allow these teams and kids to come out there. There's been some very interesting research done from the Aspen Institute in North Carolina State and another group testing on how willing people are ready to come back. And while there's still a good bit of reluctance, about 50% overall, on some concern of coming back, the confidence to come back for the community-based and school-based sports activities is way better than it is the travel ball. The travel ball is going to be a little bit more slower. But the studies are saying that people are ready to start doing it. And so
Ray, let me ask you specifically, like, what are the big events that Pensacola Sports sponsors yearly that have been impacted by COVID, and how are you going to overcome that going forward? The experts are saying that this could be with us, like you said, for many, it isn't going away soon. We're going to have this with, in our communities and in our country for months and months and months, and possibly years before we have the right therapeutic treatments and the vaccines and so forth. So how are you going to overcome? What are the big events that got canceled, and how are you going to overcome it as an entity?
Commissioner, Pensacola Sports and Pensacola we're not Super Bowl communities. It's not the big events. It's all the little events that we have been impacted. We probably have had about a dozen variety of basketball events, softball events, some youth baseball events that were postponed or canceled in some cases. Some events we have been able to reschedule and will postpone. What's going to happen, in my opinion, is, and I think it's going to go across the tourism industry, is, like I said, the appetite to travel is coming back, or is there. There's some pin up, and I know Michael's biting his lips because he's ready to go. I know he's ready to take, he and I have talked about it, he's ready to take his little boys to go play baseball. And there's a lot of that. But we've talked extensively, he and I have, about some opportunities that he's looking at, and the organizations of where he's looking at going are doing things right. And I say that in that the protection of, that's what's going to move the needle, is what communities make the commitments, what organizations make the commitment to make sure things are sanitized, that we don't have just stupid crowding. This guy, the one specific one we've talked about, he's done a very good job with scheduling of his games. And I've learned most of this from Michael, quite frankly.
Right.
This one guy, he's got games planned so that he doesn't have teams hanging around between games. They're going to play their games and leave. So that's how we're going to come back from that, is smart strategy with our facility partners. To people want to know they're safe. They want to travel. They want to go do things. Now, the indoor and the professional sports, the numbers are through the roof. And another study that was done by an Enigma research group, it's 92% of, 92% of the country has basically said, we want to go back to concerts. We want to go back. We want to go back to indoor sport, to our sports, and we're going to go back to large gatherings. We're ready to do it.
Yep.
But they want, and only 8% of all of that say kind of a hard no. That's an amazing number. And that's fresh research of studies I just got yesterday. They're saying the country is ready to move.
Interesting. Well, I know I'm certainly ready. And I know I've been contacted by some Escambia County business owners that are very ready to go. They think we shut them down. They think the county shut their bars, their restaurants, their retail shops. And I every time I get a chance to say it, I want to reiterate to everyone, Escambia County and the Escambia County Board of County Commissioners did not close any business in Escambia County, Florida. We are following the governor's orders. And to those who say, well, it's liberty, freedom. You know what? We had a stylist in Dallas who thought the same way, and she ended up going to jail. Now, that was terrible. It was wrong. And the governor of that state, thankfully, went and he pulled her out and said, we can't do this. I know people are frustrated, but I want them to be frustrated with the right entities and the right things. Number one, the COVID pandemic, none of us wanted it. We didn't bring it here. The governor didn't, the Board of County Commissioners, none of us did. And everything that was put in place was to, for safety. But I just want to make this clear one more time and as loud as I can. We did not close any business in Escambia County. We closed the beach when the doctors and the presidents of the hospitals begged us to. They sent us a letter begging us to close it along with the health department. And we did. We also subsequently reopened it. So I agree with you, Ray. Everyone wants to get back at it. I mean, you look at Sweden, they never closed down anything, and their economy is still intact. We're in tatters here in America, and it's going to be a big recovery on that. But I want to segue back over to Michael Rhodes, because Michael, I think you've got some really exciting news for parents. All three of my kids play travel sports. I know yours played baseball as well. A lot of us, I can't imagine having 12 to 14, 15-year-old kids and no football, no baseball, no softball, no cheerleading, no basketball. I mean, tell me what we're going to do in Escambia County to get this rolling again. And I think it's pretty exciting.
Sure. So basically all of our athletic partners that schedule baseball, softball, t-ball, and our spring sports obviously got put on hold by this pandemic. They start organizing in the January, February timeframe and really get their seasons going sometime in late February and March, right when this all hit. So they've been on pause and for a couple months, and folks have been pinned up. The kids are at home, school's been closed, and so forth. But in the last week of April, with guidance from the county commission, we got some good news, and the governor spoke early that following week, or late that week, I want to say. And we worked with our athletic associations with specific guidance that they could go back to the ball fields in a practice type setting on May 4th, Monday, May 4th. What happened is better than that, though. Nobody went straight back to the ball fields. I want to be very clear that nobody just ran out there unsafe, everybody on the field. That wasn't the case. We gave guidance to our athletic associations, these athletic partners, parent volunteers, nobody on the payroll, but we worked specifically with these nonprofit athletic associations that were already in the midst of their spring and summer seasons and gave them some guidelines that I'll talk about in just a second. But nobody went back to the field specifically on May 4th, but they got organized and they started taking surveys amongst the parents and worked with these parents, how many folks were going to come back to the leagues and so forth. Most of the leagues are starting back their practices. Either they started back this week, but Monday, May 18th. The list that I have, everybody will be back on the practice field.
That's fantastic. Now tell us exactly what that means. We're talking about spring sports. We're talking about softball. We're talking about baseball. So we got kids taking fielding practice, batting practice. Really, that's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. And I know the parents are.
It is. And not that we've been lucky on anything with this. We haven't been lucky. But with spring sports and summer sports being baseball, t-ball, softball, the primary spring and summer sport, those sports are easier to schedule. Frankly, they're easier for me to control as a parks director, to work with these volunteer associations, and me being a baseball coach as well. I can control my 10, 11 person roster to where I've got 3 or 4 kids in various ages, various areas of the field in rotations. Or if I have an hour and a half, 2 hour time block to practice, I'm going to bring in 4 or 5 kids in that first 45 minutes to an hour and bring in the others the second half of practice. And frankly, it's a better way to practice for what it's worth anyway, but you're having more individualized practices, but you're also keeping distance apart. That 2 week type practice window first gives kids a chance to get back in the groove, get back in shape, but it also lets these associations along with us a time frame to work out any of the kinks that may be that we have to put in place, or put some parameters in place and tweaks, and let us, the county parks department, help these athletic associations.
So when did the actual games start, Michael? When do we
the list that I have, we're looking at the leagues that we deal with. June 1st is Monday, June 1st. I expect leagues across the county to have games that night. Now, with that said, that doesn't mean they can't play the weekend, this coming weekend, or even the weekend, I want to say, of the 29th, 30th. But because they may play some practice games before then to get back in shape, have practice games at the park. But again, the spring sports, it's super, I don't want to say super easy, but it is doable to make sure folks are spreading out. We've suggested lawn chairs around the perimeter of the field. We've offered to take out bleachers so that you have lawn chair seatings on next to the home plate, third base, first base lines. Frankly, a lot of people sit in lawn chairs at these ballparks anyway. It's a better way at times to see the game and get closer, but it's certainly an easier way to spread out. We've extended dugout capacity where if the associations would like, we can bring an extra bench or two to put outside the dugout to keep those numbers inside the dugout under 10, where if you have a roster of 10 or 12, if you add 2 or 3 benches outside, you can easily keep it under 10. A lot of little ways, lawn chairs right outside the dugout. Frankly, just to keep those numbers under that suggested rate of 10, that along with bat bags, instead of having team coolers, we've suggested parents make sure every kid is hydrated, but you're not going to have a team cooler this year. You're going to be drinking out of your bat bag, or, listen, I'm a baseball coach. I don't really like my kids leaving the dugout. That's out the window this year. You can leave the dugout, go see your parents in the stands, get your snack, get your Gatorade, get your water in the stands with your parents so they're controlling what you're drinking, not dipping into a team cooler or team towels. Those are the things that won't happen this year. Again, spring sports and baseball, softball, t-ball, a lot easier, in my opinion, to control than when we get down the line in fall sports, which I'm a firm believer that this late spring, summer sports season will give us a segue on how to handle the fall winter sports, being football, more soccer in the fall, and give us a good idea of what's going to work and what we need to tweak moving into the fall months and into the winter months. But
yeah, Michael, a lot of people want to know, how are we ever going to do football again? Football, I mean, you're right on top of people, you're big groups. How are we going to look at what happens in our success in the spring sports and use that to are we going to have a football season this year in Escambia County for the kids?
Well, I certainly hope we do have a football season in the fall and the winter for these kids. I think that is a huge topic. It's not just a huge topic here. I mean, football is king in the Southeast. Yes, we're watching what's happening with the high schools. I'm hoping high school football gets some training in the late summer, moving into fall. We'll be watching what the high schools do and some of the measures the high school teams around here take on how to make that work, whether it be spacing out, similar to baseball, where you may have half your team coming in for half the practice and then rotating. You may not have as much contact every night in practice to avoid that. But again, I do think if there's one thing we're fortunate about with this whole deal in the sports world is we have the summer to do some stuff to figure out what's going to work and how that will work moving into the fall to make some tweaks. It may mean in the football season, we're spreading fans out. I mean, we keep talking about the players too, but spreading fans out along the perimeters of the sidelines. Again, you have a 120-yard area down the sidelines. And so you have room to spread out. That's some angles we'll be looking at. We will be working with our local agencies, the City of Pensacola, Okaloosa County, Santa Rosa County, along with the regional governing body of youth football on how to make that safe. In fact, we have spoken to them in just the recent week. And toward the end of June, we're to convene and have a meeting just with the regional football director, along with these entities that have programs in his overall football governing body, to see how we're going to make this work. But again, I want to stress, I'm wanting to get my kids out without a doubt. Kids from all over the area wanting to get out.
Yes.
I think this summer time frame will give us a very good idea of how this is going to work out. And I feel very confident it's going to be successful. It's not going to be successful with just me and our department. It's going to be successful because the parents and the volunteers at all these athletic associations are going beyond the call of duty. They're working with, they've hired their own bathroom staffs to make sure that it's going to work out. They're cleaning more. They're putting parameters in with hand sanitizers and the kids' bat bags and all kind of the little things that they're going above the call of duty. Again, like I said, we gave them 2 weeks and 2 to 3 weeks to work this out. They just didn't go back on the field playing immediately. But
Sure.
They want to be prepared when they're ready to go.
Well, a lot of people like me, look, I can't wait to get back to sports too. I mean, my kids are all grown now, but we did all the travel sports, soccer, baseball, the whole shooting match. But the people are going to say, look, how are you ever going to have a basketball situation when you've got a gymnasium packed with fans? I mean, are you going to have to limit that? Are you going to have cameras and have a remote viewing area, kind of like what we're doing here with, instead of being at a restaurant doing a coffee in person, doing it online? I mean, because I've been to basketball games where you can't move. I mean, it's so crowded and it's wonderful. It's a great experience. But now in this era that we're in, how do we overcome that challenge? And that question will go to you, Ray, as well as Michael. How, for basketball in particular, basketball is a big sport here in Escambia County. So how do we overcome that so that the fans can come and watch?
Well, I think that I don't think we defined yet what the new normal will be. I think the as Michael mentioned, the sideline cooler is a thing of the past.
Yep.
The runs, the water stops at a run, thing of the past. Those things will now be bring your own hydration and prep for yourself. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very much, a lot of the results are going to be put on facilities and organizers. And I think the messaging to the fans of this is now what the new norm is. Again, being in the tourism, I've received, there's conferences that are now, preparing back, major hundreds, thousands of people conferences that are coming out, and, buffet lines at a conference are a thing of the past. Now it's going to be a boxed meal, and there's going to be virtual educational components of meetings. And, there's just so many different things, sneeze guards between one-on-one meetings with your vendors and stuff like that. So a basketball game, Commissioner, honestly, I don't know what it's going to look like. And basketball is one of our very first events that one of our high school all-star series games that was canceled. And we are still trying to figure out, because that was one of our most popular. We packed Pensacola State College with the best of high school players in Escambia, Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa. And you talk about a fantastic crowd. That's all gone for us.
Well, how about this? How about this one, Ray? We just got the Sun Belt Conference, right? We just put a lot of money up. I mean, now our sales tax, our hotel tax is going to take a hit from this COVID. Janice, I mean, I'm going to bring you back in on that. We worked hard. Commissioner May worked hard with Ray and with others, to bring that Sun Belt Conference into Escambia County. What's that going to look like now?
So it's actually on my list to talk to Ray and Cindy Pennington about. Because I think one of the issues for us is, one of the commitments that we made was the Daktronics scoreboard and the big new monitor, which unfortunately it's about $1 million for that investment. And so, as we're looking at contracts and we're looking at funding sources post the approval of that, I think we may have to have some conversations with Sunbelt about that particular investment. I think the other things that we committed to are things that we can do within existing resources. So it's actually on my list to talk to Ray and Ms. Pennington about, along with the Sun Belt. You know, they had to cancel this year.
Right.
You know, all of March Madness got canceled. And so that's what makes it a little bit more difficult in terms of making $1 million commitment with something that potentially could be canceled again next year. So anyway, I think that we definitely want the Sun Belt to still come if they're able to play. It just may look a little different, and that's, you know, part of our conversation. It's not a we still want them there. It's not a no, we don't want you to come. It's a we want you to come, but we want you to understand there may be some modifications to the letter of agreement that we signed, not because we want to, but because it may be necessary. So
yeah, and let's just cut right to the chase on that. Obviously, one of the alluring characteristics of that deal was bringing in all these outside people to stay in hotels, right, and attend these games. If you take that off the table and it's just an empty stadium with people playing and cameras filming it, the economic impact won't be there. Is that kind of what you were trying to say politely?
well, I think what we have to do is we do need to look at the value that we talked about at the press conference of being on national TV, right?
Right.
We would have an opportunity to promote Pensacola on a national television, on a national stage, and I think that part is helpful. But if you're promoting us, but you can't come to us, that's where we kind of have to do the analysis of the investment that we did commit to. And so that's where we're going to have to do that return on investment. So,
well, I look forward to that conversation because it's one of the things I was thinking about when they canceled March Madness. I'm like, wow, the county, we just worked real hard to get the Sun Belt Conference. You know, what's that going to look like? So I can't wait to have that conversation and see your analysis of that. Hey, Michael, I want to go back to you though. We have a great park system and it really provides a great quality of life for the citizens here. And one of the things that we did, and I wanted to get your update on this out in Beulah, was in District 1, we brought the food trucks out and we had a few people, naysayers, oh, it's a stupid idea, it's not going to work. Give me your honest assessment, because I know initially you kind of had some doubts, but how did that turn out? How's that going so far?
Way better than we could have possibly expected. Frankly, I didn't know how it would go. I was on the fence of how that would work. But I got to give a huge shout to our Equestrian Center staff working with your office as well. Once we got it set up, and it only took 3 or 4 days to get the word out, we made it available for up to 4 food trucks per day at the Equestrian Center property on Mobile Highway. Plenty of space, and it fit the bill because the Equestrian Center events are on pause right now because of the pandemic, and we have a lot of open space, plenty of room to social distance. That's certainly not a problem out there in the parking area. And we didn't know if we'd have 1 or 2 trucks per day, but by the second week of scheduling, we've pretty much maxed it out at 4 per day. Various food choices from Chick-fil-A to other local vendors and specialty type food. And so we maxed it out with our capability of what we said we would do to bring in up to 4 a day. And it's pretty much been booked every day since we started it. And then the other side of that is starting at about 10:45 and 11 a.m., I've noticed and gotten calls from our Equestrian Center staff that folks start lining up for the food. So it's been a win-win for our staff. We giving back to the community, giving something for the folks of Beulah to do at lunch, to a quick bite. They can sit on in their lawn chairs out on the property, or the majority seem to be getting it and go. So it's been a lunch crowd, and then we have the dinner rush as well. At 5:30ish, 6 in the evening, there's been a dinner rush as well, which is great. I mean, so again, kind of went in with it with some reservations, not knowing how it would be taken. It's been a win-win for the folks out in the Beulah area, but also for what the county can give back and an opportunity in this odd situation to have a place. There's not a lot of places that it could work like this, but the Equestrian Center fit the bill.
Well, I can just say this. Thank you to your staff, those folks out there. I've been out there multiple times, and I was out there the very first Monday, and we had the snow cone. We had the whacked out wiener, and we had Chick-fil-A. And Chick-fil-A, and there wasn't a lot of people there when I pulled up, and I was like, wow, okay, well, maybe this, it's first day, whatever. I walked up to the Chick-fil-A because the whacked out wiener had a big old line, And there was no one in front of Chick-fil-A. And I said, this doesn't work because every Chick-fil-A you ever go to in your life, there's a line around the building. They just print money. I don't know. It's a great restaurant. And I went up to the guy. He goes, yeah, we got out here and we sold out in 45 minutes. We're sold out. I said, what? How do you sell out? He said, yeah, we're waiting for reinforcements. So I knew it was going to take off. And I'm really glad. As a resident of Beulah, Michael, I got to tell you, there's no restaurants out there. Now there's a Circle K. You can get roller hot dogs on the roller. You can, Tom Thumb's been there. You can get the pizza from the inside the gas station or the microwave burrito, but there's no restaurants there. So I knew this was going to be a hit. And I really appreciate you guys facilitating that. I also want to talk right down the road from there is the Beulah Park. And that was, when did that come online? Was that 2014 or when did that?
I'd say 2012, 2013 is when it opened. We've gradually added amenities out there as the park has progressed and the area has grown. You had the playground, you had the walking track. We've added tennis courts. We've added tennis courts. Yep. You've got the volleyball courts and the dog park. It's what we dub as a regional park. It's not just your pocket neighborhood park. It is a draw for the area all down Mobile Highway and the Beulah community. It's not just tucked in a neighborhood. It's on a main drag of Mobile Highway. It is adjacent, and there is connectivity to the Equestrian Center. Yep. So when we're hosting large events at the Equestrian Center, there's folks that have the kids in their downtime at the events at the Equestrian Center. They can go enjoy those amenities as well. But as that area has grown, I mean, pretty much from 8, 9 in the morning until sunset, it is a crowded park, and we've gradually added amenities to that over the years. And as you know, we look to add some more amenities here in the next couple months with that.
Yeah. And I want to talk about that because I live right around the corner and I go to that park all the time. I play tennis out there all the time. In fact, when the nets were real bad and I told you, I just want to throw a shout out, you were able to get the guys out there real quick and get that fixed. But the tennis courts have been a hit. When it first opened, you know, I always knew I could go there and get on a court because no one was playing. Now you got to wait. People are getting into tennis and I love it because it's a great sport you can play your whole life. But with that said, knowing that park is so busy, you know, we've committed some resources, and I'd love for you to kind of tell the folks, because this is really exciting. And I know the board approved it. Was it 2 months ago? We approved the $200,000 expenditure from District 1 discretionary loss, but we've got some exciting features coming to Beulah Park. And it is one of the busiest parks in the county. Wouldn't you say, Michael?
100%. And thank you to you, along with the other commissioners as well. You guys have been great in supporting additions at existing parks. We really have enough parks across Escambia County, and we've hit the threshold. We have enough parks. So what we've been doing in the most recent years is adding amenities to existing parks to just provide better upgrades to the citizens. And this Beulah Regional Park, no doubt it is one of the most popular parks and the busiest parks in the county. What we have slated, one of our most popular amenities is adding stuff for adults, fitness equipment, outdoor fitness equipment. So we're adding a fitness area that is perfect, and it's a perfect complement to the walking track, the tennis courts. We're situating it in a place where adults can work out, get a good cardio workout, get a weight workout. There's a lot of good equipment that's come online across the country now about outdoor workout equipment, and we're situating where folks can watch their kids play on the playground. We got a first-class playground at this facility. So you will have the fitness area, and we're also adding a very nice climbing wall, and I'll keep that under wraps a little bit because I kind of want it to be a surprise, but we have a nice climbing wall that is another very popular amenity for the kids. And the other thing that we're going to add is a misting water feature at the park. So in the blazing summer, it's going to be automated. It's not going to be a pool. It's not a huge splash pad, but there's some water apparatuses that are hand controlled that'll be tied into our water system out there that folks, adults and kids, can go under trees. It's kind of a rainforest effect with some palm trees. So you have some misting devices. So all in all, put that all together with the tennis courts, the volleyball court, the dog park, the walking track, the very nice. And we just added a permanent bathroom out there only 1 year ago. Don't forget that part. We added the bathroom complex as well. So again, the addition of the water features, the outdoor workout area, fitness area is what I'll call it, and then the climbing wall. Pretty much you're going to have a stacked park out there that'll fit the bill for the Beulah residents as that area continues to grow.
I'm excited to see it. I'm so happy that we're going to move that forward. On the misting stuff for the kids, I mean, it's not a mist. It'll be water. They can get soaking wet if they want to, right? I mean, they can get out there and get wet.
They'll get as wet as they care to.
Okay. I love the kids.
Absolutely.
I know,
And it'll
you
be
know,
cool water, I hope. Yeah, but yes, it's going to be nice. We always reserve the right to add a few more if we see we need to, but we've got them ordered, and I look for installation here in the next couple months on that. We're getting rolling. Like you said, the allocation has been put into place and equipment's ordered, and now it's just installing, getting shipped, and getting rolling.
now this is a very important question. It's a climbing wall for kids, but I'm a kid at heart. Can I climb on the climbing wall, or is there a weight limitation, or would I break it if I got on it?
Well,
Ray?
I'm not going to climb on it because I know my weight, but I'm not going to climb on it. But I'll see you and Palmer out there and see if y'all want to climb on it.
Ray, let's go. Come on, man. Let's climb the wall.
I just want to know that if I have a secret, not to give it to you two. I want to keep a secret, and then it kept growing and more amenities. And
Well, being that y'all are both tennis players, I know this is getting a little offline here, but being y'all are both tennis players, y'all bet a Coca-Cola on the tennis match and then go hit the climbing wall.
Hey, I
can
can do
wet
that.
at the water feature too.
me too. At one time, me too. Still too. Pickleball. I would encourage you, Michael. Make sure you got your eye on the ball.
Oh, yeah. Are we doing that, Mike? I see that everywhere else in the country. People are going nuts on the pickleball.
Absolutely. We have it at Treasure Hills Park. And actually, we did have some pickleball at Beulah. And we're working to add some stuff out there with pickleball.
Well, Commissioner, I would add, and Janice and Michael and I, it's really disappointing what's happened, because we have had to hit the pause button on, I think, some really good talks on what assets Pensacola Sports can provide and direct towards the county parks departments and recreation department in support of helping some of those amenities that do a dual purpose. They make the parks better for the residents, which is who we care in most. That's our job first, yours as well as mine. Because if our residents have good facilities, then our visitors will have good facilities. So it's really, we have had meetings and great discussions on how we facilitate those types of things. And I assure you, we are committed. I believe all of us are committed to start that back up as soon as we can restart that engine of the tourism dollars to be available. I know a better park and a better amenity and a better asset for Pensacola Sports is a better asset for Michael Rhodes and for you and all of our citizens, which ultimately brings that tourism dollar back. So I can assure you that I can make it from Pensacola Sports as 100%. And I know the other two on this screen have completely have encouraged us to be a part and initiated those conversations. And they're exciting conversations, I think.
We have a couple of comments from posters here, and I'll throw them out there for the group to kind of weigh in. One, Larry says, maybe we better stop adding stuff and spending more money while we're heading into the tight times. Now, I can kind of address that. A lot of these things were planned, programmed, and funded before this, 2.5 month outbreak. So the money is there already. But I absolutely agree. Going forward, we're going to have to tighten our belts. There's no question. Our local option sales tax money, our hotel tax, we're going to take a big hit. But I mean, I don't think you stop in place, just because of what's going on. I think if nothing else, people now more than ever, the guidelines from the governor, from the president on down is be outside, get the vitamin D, get the sunlight, be outside. So I can't think of a better way to spend a couple of $100,000 that was already programmed than to make our park better in Beulah for the citizens out there. So I hear what he's saying, and I agree. I'm not going to even read this next comment because it's ridiculous. But I do think that, there's lots of things we're spending money on. It's not just parks. I mean, we're fixing roads. We've got sidewalk projects in District 1 that we're programming. I already mentioned the fire station. We're going to put $2.5 million into Beulah's fire station for the volunteer firefighters out there. And, we're spending a lot of money on a lot of different things. But I think quality of life, especially during this outbreak, when one of the few things we can do as a family now is be outside. I mean, we can't go to the movies anymore. We can hardly go to restaurants. I just think that's a totally appropriate expenditure. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Ray. I mean, I think sports and getting outdoors is helping. I think it's helping people's psyche. What do you think, Ray?
Oh, 100%. I think opening up of the beach and having the boat ramps are available. Just go see. People want to get out and about, and as I said, these studies are saying people are ready to go. And these
They're
are
ready.
expenditures. I think there's a lot of conversation of you sit back and hold, or is now the time to play? Now you don't want. We don't need to be that. And of course, that's where y'all have professional administrators to say what are smart buys. But I think taking advantage of catastrophe is you go back into the history of our country, of our most successful businesses and business leaders, the ones who move forward during the catastrophe. I remember somebody made a famous statement, don't ever let a good catastrophe go to waste. You act upon the marketing people are telling you, now's not the time to pull back completely. Now's the time to be pushing forward, because those guys that are pulled back to wait to see, yeah, we have to do some waiting. But I think messaging of what we're doing positively, exactly what Michael and what y'all are doing in messaging to your communities of how you're going to keep those kids safe is going to be critical to how well Escambia County is coming back. And honestly, I'm really proud of what y'all have done as an Escambia County citizen, because I'm having my counterparts around the state are calling me, and they don't call me a lot, but saying, what the heck are y'all doing? And I actually had to kind of plead stupid at first. So I was like, okay, what roads do? I trained him well. He can't keep his mouth closed, but.
Well, guys, I know we had a little bit of a hiccup this morning. It's just amazing when we get these great conversations going, how quickly an hour can go. But we're running up against our hour. I want to thank Michael Rhodes from Parks and Rec. I want to obviously thank Janice Gilley, our administrator. She's working real hard, a lot. I mean, Janice, let me ask you just one question. Is this as crazy as you thought this job would be?
There are no words to express how crazy this job is.
I knew that'd be a great answer. Ray Palmer from Pensacola Sports, thanks for everything you guys are doing. I want to point out, next week at this time is going to be a really interesting coffee. I'm going to have both of my counterparts on the other District 1 local governments with us. We're going to have Kevin Adams from the school board. He was my successor on the Escambia County School Board, and he's going to talk about all the challenges of COVID-19 and how that's impacting the schools. And I can't wait to hear from him and the update. I cannot imagine the difficulty this pandemic is having on schools and teachers trying to keep track of students. And I know it's been a real difficulty on parents, so I can't wait to hear his update. We're also going to have Vicki Campbell, who is the District 1 ECUA rep. So we'll have Janice aboard, and that'll be a great conversation. And of course, as we're doing today, we'll take your comments, and the ones that are not ridiculous, we'll definitely pass them out to the panel and consider them. That'll happen a week from today. So we'll have a District 1 roundtable online. Kevin Adams, from District 1 school board member, myself, District 1 County Commissioner Jeff Bergoshin, and also District 1 ECUA board member, Vicki Campbell. And that will be timely because we're talking a little bit about a big ECUA project out at Inner-Arity that, there's been some issues with that. We recently got some transcripts. Unfortunately, they're not public records, or I would have put them on my blog already. They're very, very interesting. It's a very interesting read. And a lot of decisions were made prior to me coming on the board that we're dealing with the fallout. And I'm sure, Janice, you're dealing with fallout too from these decisions were made 4, 5, and 6 years ago. But so that'll be an interesting show. And one thing I'm going to start doing now every Friday afternoon, I'm going to do a recap at 5 o'clock. Every Friday afternoon, it's going to be the District 1 recap. We're going to talk about everything that happened in the week in the district. So it'll be right here on Facebook Live. If I can ever get the technology challenges, conquered. Every week it's something, but we made it work today, and I'm going to show everyone how we did it. I've been holding my iPhone right here and filming it while I'm trying to talk, but I want to let everyone know, David Hero and the CMR department at Escambia County are first rate, top notch. They're going to take this recording, because I'm recording this on Zoom to the cloud, and they will put a clean recording out here. So all of our discussions can be memorialized for citizens to watch a clean copy. So again, Ray Palmer, thank you, sir. Michael Rhodes, thank you. Janice Gilley, thank you. And I'll see you tomorrow at our committee of the whole. And everyone else, have a great rest of the week. Thanks for being here. And remember, 5 o'clock, we're going to do a recap. Next Wednesday, District 1 Roundtable here on the Coffee with the Commissioner. And this was our 40th episode. So I appreciate you all being here. Everyone have a great week.